Hello everyone, welcome to the channel. My name is Rohit, and today we will be discussing the quiet desperation of people who look fine. So let's get started. Some people do not look like they have given up. They go to work, they pay bills, they answer messages, they laugh at the right moments. They maintain the shape of normal life. But inside, something has quietly collapsed. Not their schedule, not their responsibility, their belief that anything they do will meaningfully change the direction of their life. That is the dangerous part. The most dangerous mindset is not simply believing life is hard. Some people are handed harder starting points than others, and pretending otherwise is dishonest. The dangerous mindset is believing that the power to change your situation exists somewhere you cannot reach. Once that belief settles in, you stop trying in ways that still look socially acceptable. You still function, you just stop fighting for a different outcome. Your behavior reveals where you think the power is. There is a question running under your life. Do I have some power to change this, or does the power live entirely outside me? You may never answer that question directly, but your behavior answers it every day. What you attempt, answer it. What you avoid, answers it. What you tolerate, answers it. What you keep complaining about but never touch, answers it. If you believe some part of the power is still available to you, you behave differently. You try another approach, you ask a better question, you make the call, you adjust after failure, you look for the next move. Not because you are endlessly positive, because you still believe action has a chance of mattering. If you believe the power is completely outside you, your behavior changes too. You wait, you explain, you complain with more detail. You become very good at describing the prison and very bad at looking for the door. That is where common desperation starts. Not when life becomes difficult, when effort starts feeling pointless. Explaining the cage is not the same as leaving it. A person can become extremely intelligent about why they are stuck. They can explain their childhood, their employer, their economy, their family, their health, their lack of support, the unfairness of system. And they may be right about a lot of it. And that is what makes this trap so hard to see. The explanation may be accurate and still not be useful. Understanding why you are stuck matters only if it helps you decide what to do next. Otherwise, explanation becomes decoration for inaction. You keep polishing the story, you keep adding context, you keep proving that the situation is difficult. But the situation does not move. At the same point, the question has to change. Not, can I explain why this happened? But, given that this happened, what can I do now? That second question is behavior. It removes the comfort of being only an observer. It asks something from you. Learned helplessness can start feeling like personality. Passivity is not always who you are. Sometimes it is what you learn. When people repeatedly experience situations where their action seems to take no difference, they can start expecting the same thing elsewhere. Psychology has studied this pattern under learned helplessness, where repeated lack of control can produce passivity and reduced effort even when action later becomes possible. If life teaches you enough times that nothing you do changes the outcome, you may stop trying before you consciously decide to stop. Then the passivity starts feeling like your personality. I am just not ambitious. I am not the kind of person who takes risk. I am realistic. I don't get my hopes up. Maybe, or maybe you learn to protect yourself from disappointment by lowering your effort before reality could reject you again. That protection can make sense for a season, but if you keep carrying it, it becomes a cage. And the cage is dangerous because it locks from the inside. Blame is not always fake. Sometimes someone really did hurt you. Sometimes the situation really was unfair. Sometimes you were placed in a system where the odds were not equal. The problem is not noticing that. The problem is handing over all your agency because of it. Blame gives a certain kind of relief. It removes the immediate pressure of asking, what do I need to do now? For a moment, you feel lighter. The burden belongs somewhere else. But there is a trade. When you give up responsibility completely, you also give up some control. You cannot say, this is entirely outside me, and still expect to feel powerful inside it. Blame gives explanation, responsibility gives leverage, and leverage is what changes outcome. Fault and responsibility are not the same thing. This distinction matters because people confuse responsibility with self blame. They are not the same. Fault asks, who caused this? Responsibility asks, what am I going to do about it now? Something can be not your fault and still be your responsibility to deal with. That feels unfair because it often is unfair. But fairness does not decide who has to live with the consequences. You do. Your past may not be your fault. The way people treated you may not be your fault. The economy may not be your fault. The family you were born into may be not your fault. But if the consequences now live in your body, your bank account, your habits, your relationships, your confidence, or your daily choices, then waiting for someone else to repair all of it may keep you stuck for years and decades. Responsibility does not mean pretending you caused everything. It means refusing to surrender the part you can still influence. Familiar pain can feel safer than unfamiliar progress. Everyone has an internal baseline, a level of money that feels normal, a level of stress that feels normal, a kind of relationship that feels normal, a level of confidence, health, peace, and success that feels normal. Normal does not mean good, it means familiar. This is why someone can get a better job and slowly sabotage it, make more money, and somehow return to the old financial pressure, enter a healthy relationship, and recreate the conflict they already understand, get fit, and drift back to the body they used to recognize. When life moves above your internal baseline, part of you may not feel free. It may feel exposed. Familiar struggle has a strange comfort. You know how to live there, you know what to expect, you know who you are inside it. A better life introduces uncertainty, so you may consciously want change while unconsciously returning to the old pattern. That is why goals alone often fails. The goal points upward, the baseline pulls backward. Belief manufacture their own evidence. A belief does not just sit in your head, it recruits behavior. If you believe you cannot succeed, you do not fully commit. When you do not fully commit, your results stay weak. When your results stay weak, the belief feels proven. I knew I couldn't do it. But what exactly was proven? That you could not succeed, or that half effort rarely produces full results. This is the hidden danger of scared half commitment. You do just enough to say you are tired, but not enough to truly test yourself. Then, when it fails, you still have protection. I didn't really care. I was not fully trying. The situation was impossible anyway. That protects the ego, but it costs you truth. You never find out what full commitment would have produced. Some people are not avoiding failure, they are avoiding the possibility of giving everything and discovering their real current level. That is scarier. So they keep one foot out, then they call the weak result destiny. Small surrenders compound. A life rarely shrinks in one dramatic decision. It shrinks quietly. One avoided opportunity, one delayed conversation, one half-hearted attempt, 1 year of tolerating the same situation, one more excuse that sounds reasonable, one more moment where you knew the next move and chose comfort instead. None of these feels catastrophic in isolation. That is why they survive. But repeated over years, they create a life that feels smaller than the one you privately imagined. And then the mind does something cruel. It starts calling the smaller life realistic, not because it is the only life available, because it is the one your repeated choices have made familiar. That is the quiet desperation. You are not destroyed, you are adjusted to less. Action has to come before motivation. A lot of people wait to feel ready before they act. Ready often never arrives. Not for the person who has spent years proving to themselves that effort does not matter. Not for the person whose baseline is built around disappointment. Not for the person who has used blame as protection. The sequence has to flip. Action comes first, then evidence, then confidence, then motivation. You do not need to feel powerful before taking the next move. You need one action that reminds your brain your behavior still matters. Send the message, open the account, apply, ask, train, book the appointment, make the offer, clean the room, start the document, have the conversation. Not because one action fixes everything, because one action interrupts the belief that nothing you do matters. That interruption is where agency returns. The first move is to name where you gave the power away. Do this honestly. Write down 3 areas where you regularly blame the system, your past, other people, or circumstances. Be very specific. Not my life. Write the actual area. For example, money, health, career, relationship, confidence, work, family. Then ask one question about each. Has blaming this ever produced the result I actually wanted? Do not answer in theory. Answer from evidence. Has it changed the situation? Has it made you stronger? Has it created options? Has it helped you act? If the answer is no, separate fault from responsibility. Write what was not your fault, then write what is now your responsibility. Not everything, just the part you can touch. Then choose one concrete action, take it immediately. The size matters less than the direction. You are trying to prove something specific. I still have a move. The door does not open from explanation. Your life will not change because you finally create the perfect explanation for why it has been hard. It changes when explanation turns into ownership. Ownership does not mean you control everything. You do not. It does not mean the past was fair. It may not have been. It does not mean the obstacle was fake. Some obstacle was very real. Ownership means you stop surrendering the parts that are still yours. Your attention, your next action, your standards, your response, your willingness to try again with better information. Your refusal to let an unfair beginning become the final argument for a smaller life. The dangerous cycle: external blame, reduced responsibility, reduced action, poor result, more external blame. The better cycle: ownership, action, feedback, adjustment, result, stronger belief in agency. You do not need to become wildly optimistic. You need to become harder to make passive. So pick the area where you have been explaining the most and acting the least. Ask the only question that matters now. Given the situation I have, what is my next move? Then take it before the old story talks you out of your own life again. Hope you like this content, and if you want me to cover any other topic, then please let me know in the comment section. Until then, see you in the next video.